Jay, this is very interesting for me because it's kind of a convergence in my own thinking. I know you've been making some points for a few years in this direction, and my own thinking is, I guess, sort of catching up with you. But we're here today to talk about corporate social responsibility and kind of connect that with our day jobs, right? Yeah. And so, you've said for a while about business itself being inherently an instrument of good. I think for that to make sense to somebody, we should probably ground it in asking, what exactly is the nature of business? What does a business actually do?
Yeah, that's I love the topic, as you know. So I think, first of all, I have to clarify, business in a proper environment. So what I'm talking about is kind of free enterprise, free market type of business, where a business is organized for a purpose of satisfying customer needs. In that case, what a business does is it organizes resources to produce products and services for trade at a profit. And every one of those matters because you're trying to make the highest use of resources. Then you're trying to, and that means specialize, and then you're trying to make products and services that customers value, and that means specialize. And then you're trading them in order to get value you want, which generally is currency, money. And if you don't make enough for that, we all know what happens to business. So over time, investors don't invest and a business declines.
So let's take a step back. This is something, I guess, is a way that I like talking about it. There's also been a recognition on my part of how essential the work of our customers is. Mm-hmm. I sometimes, one reason I have no friends is I ask questions like, what's your highest value? And people think about it and come up with God knows what. They say, no, your highest value is oxygen. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have it, that's the first thing you try to fix, more than your family or more than anything else. Right. And our customers are not supplying oxygen, but they're getting pretty close to that in terms of the thing.
Right. Well, I can definitely understand why you have no friends in conversation. But I think that is a big deal. There are lots of different types of business. And obviously, the medical profession, entertainment, news, journalism, transportation, these are all vital businesses to human prosperity. But what we do is we generally are focused on improving productivity in plants that make stuff and move or sort stuff. And that's generally what we do. And if you don't make the stuff, there's no stuff. So that really matters because people don't live on the internet. They don't live in some
humans need stuff.
They need stuff, and none of us can make the stuff. We know most of us don't know how to make a ham sandwich, much less all of the kinds of. So by specializing. And you can look at the industries we're in. It's food, and that's the basic protein, fruit and vegetable, bakery. Those are major categories, and industrial, light industry across the board. And then there's a package handling and material handling and sorting, and every one of those provides some vital is important to some vital human need. And I'll show you one example of how industry works, and that's the can industry, which I know you've been intimately involved in the technology. But the can was invented in Napoleon's time. I think he put out a reward for who would come up with this can, and ever since then, it's done nothing but get better and better and better. In the last 30 years, the average material content of a can has been, maybe it's 40 years, whatever it is, it's been reduced by about 90%. And they've made the cans all different shapes, and they've made them much more difficult to handle. And we're in the business of saying, well, if you're going to produce 3 million cans a day in a plant, how do you do that efficiently without damaging the cans and have them have the smooth flow and not have any breakdowns and not have stranded cans and improve efficiency? And that's where we come in, because we make the conveyance systems that enable that. And that's been an interesting, challenging, and intellectually rewarding job. And I'd say every can that's manufactured in the world today in any significant industry is probably touched on our belts.
So for a business to do what you talked about, to deliver value and to make a profit, what sort of values does a business need in order to do that?
Well, I think you're fundamentally looking at how do you get people to make choices to be part of a business. And at every stage along the way, someone is making a choice. And to make a choice, you're opting in. And by that, I have to trust what I'm opting into. So I would put the broadest category of trust, and I would, inside that category, put that means trust in your integrity, trust and alignment to the purpose. I have to also believe in the purpose, and then I have to believe in the competence and the effective execution of the team and how it's organized.
So you're talking about the relationship, what a customer needs to have vis-a-vis us, that kind of trust. And I guess you're also talking about the trust we have to have in each other to get the job done.
Yeah, I was more thinking about internal, but it's the same principles across every part of what you do, because anytime you have these win-win relationships, that's what's necessary.
So trust building based on my integrity, based on getting alignment, and based on sustainable assumptions about someone's ability to get something done. I don't want an airline pilot with good integrity but no competence flying my plane.
Even if he's committed to improvement.
It's a threshold you got to cross. We said earlier, we use the word win-win. We use the phrase win-win pretty often. When you're looking at everything we've been talking about, let's talk about who exactly are the people who win.
Well, that's the beauty of business designed to organize resources where people make choices to join. Customers are winning because they're getting the value they want. We're winning because we're getting the money we need. Employees are winning. Our suppliers are winning. So at every step along the way, everyone you touch, and even the what I'll call the corporate social responsibility side's winning, because with continuous improvement, as we've just talked, the example of taking 90% of the material out of a can is a big deal. So improving efficiency, and the world wins when business is organized and done right, and each person wins in the process because they're making a choice to opt in, and that's the beauty of it. Is my ethical self-interest gets served, whatever those are. And if I'm not an ethical person and I can't, then it's going to be tough for me to be part of an enduring relationship with anyone, much less a business.
You just used the word continuous improvement, or the phrase continuous improvement. Our whole business philosophy, continuous improvement, you can see it as a roadmap to continuous improvement. In fact, that's built into the title, right? Making a continuous improvement program. What exactly do you mean by continuous improvement, and why is it so foundational?
Well, it's a foundational mindset, because if the idea is that if I achieve this, then I can stop improving, well, the world doesn't stop. My competitors don't stop. So the nature of any improvement is that if we do it well, we commercialize it well, the market receives it well, all those things, then we're the first beneficiaries of what I'll call the profits that come from that. But over time, if we don't continue to improve the products and services we provide, then others see that opportunity. They come in, they make, and if there's no one improving, then they just start to compete each other down on price. But what mostly happens is that someone continues to try to improve it, and that's the game. And that's how human beings across the board and human prosperity gets elevated.
Let's talk about scale, right? So how does everything we're talking about scale? How do these values scale? How does the win scale? What's going on there?
Well, that's the part of what I'll call ethical human development that I'm most excited about, is that I believe that properly understood, that ethical business is something that scales to any society that believes in the individual, and it believes in what I'll call the dignity of individual people, because they get to make their choices. And in doing that, they will self-select to choose what's best for them and their interests in their life. And I don't know of any organization. I've been told that there are other types of organizational structure that can scale, but I don't know how you transcend geography and religion and sex and gender and all those things and language without having a self-interested, ethical incentive to serve my interests, and that's the beauty of business.
Well, I guess trade, that's one reason maybe trade is central to this. It may not
Exactly.
be the only reason or the only way things can scale, but if someone has to buy my product, that's the surest test. It's better than a focus group.
Absolutely. Right.
It's better than an opinion
Right.
poll that's saying, is this adding value or not?
Right. Now, there can be long periods of time when visions of that standard, but ultimately that is the test. But Voltaire had a quote that I loved, and it was that he went to the London Stock Exchange, and he noticed, and he said it was a beautiful thing to watch. He said the Mohammedan, the Christian, and the Jew all trading with no one calling each other infidel except the bankrupt, which I thought was a spectacular quote. And he said, and everyone going back to their lives, but they come. It's not the end of relationships, but it's the beginning. And over time, they become friends, and they start to, and it is a generator of peace. It's a generator of everything that makes human existence the way we appreciate it possible.
I tend not to yell at you and call you names if I'm trying to make you a customer.
Exactly. That was the Dutch who were famous for this. They didn't get on board with the Inquisition because they said it didn't make sense to kill our customers. They said that just doesn't work.
Wow. Yeah.
So
force for good.
Yeah.
So this is a mind shift, and including for many people, it's a mind shift on how people can look at business. I remember when I was pretty new in the company, I think we were visiting Amsterdam, and somehow the subject came up. There was another person in the room who asked us, what about goodwill and charity? And I said, yeah, I'm all for charity, and I do a lot of civic stuff in my free time, but your business is your business, and the things you do for humanity are in your free time. And I could tell from your body language, you weren't entirely comfortable with that answer. You didn't say anything, but I could just tell you weren't. You didn't pound the table and say, "Yep, that's exactly right."
Yeah, I don't know why. I was being nice that day, probably, but yeah.
This is why, right? Or there's something about all this.
I think that's right. I think what tends to happen is that somehow we've come to believe that self-interest then morally taints what we do.
Yeah.
And it's really the opposite. Everything we do, what's made the world better is a sense of ethical self-interest, a bit of a moral ambitiousness, and that's clearly in our self-interest. And we think about what's best for developing ourselves, which is the most important project we have, and that's in our interest. And then we think about our families, and that's in our interest. And we think about serving those interests, which is clearly and in doing that, if we organize by understanding what's important to someone else and trading with them, it's in their interest. So that's how the world gets better. So I don't consider that to be a conflict between what I'll call that ethical side and what makes the world better. I just say we're all taking this, one little dent in the universe, and in doing that, we all bring our best each day to what we do in our work. And in that way, we're agents of this very human prosperity that is getting created. And we're either making things better by elevating the people around us, or we're making it worse.
Jay, you talked about age, and I think we all agree on the beauties of age and how age makes us more competent and wiser and more deserving of respect from anyone watching a video like this. But someday, age is going to limit your impact here. In one way or another, what core values are you hoping outlive your time here?
Well, I'm hoping the fundamentals of LCI, the basic of ethical self-interest, and the basics of trust, and the basics of continuous improvement, and ideas, and civility, and treating others with respect and dignity, and then challenging each other to bring our best and making the best of each person. And I believe that what's most gratifying to me is the reason that this will outlive me. And candidly, my professional life, this is the most exhilarating and worthwhile from a satisfaction point of view that I have, is that I know that these ideas aren't on paper. They're not concepts. They're people who have made them better, who own them, and they're not they're not my ideas, they're our ideas. Or in many cases, each individual it's my idea now, because now that I own it, I believe it, I live it. That's the beauty of it. And the challenge for each person is to be that agent to make it better and to not let the standards drift. And that's really the opportunity that I'm most excited about.
Jay, when we talk about the scaling of these values, I'm in product development and looking at sort of our pipeline for certain customer accounts. If you look at, say, a meat processing customer, I don't think we've reached the limit of the value we can add for them. And I'm wondering, is that because there's no inherent reason why that should end?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I think what we've done is organize ourselves to be specialists in understanding exactly what those values are. And there's several concepts that are embedded in continuous improvement. And that is that there's no limit to ideas, that the ideas are whatever we can generate by the brains and the talent of the people and how we use resources. And the idea that competence attracts opportunities, because we will be given more and more and more opportunities because of the trust that customers have with us. And then that trust also translates to other industries and opportunities. And they're not stopping. They're continuing to make the changes in their business as well, because they have to be reacting. So it's a virtuous cycle. And I think for people who say, well, that's just material, they have to get a grip on the idea that we live this astoundingly prosperous existence. And figuring out how to get clean water and energy and sanitation and a washing machine to 2/3 of the world, that's a big damn deal.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yep. Thank you, Jay.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give this video a like and hit the subscribe button below.